Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're not sleepy yet. But I'm curious among all of you here who have seen Justice League, the movie. Anyone? Okay, just a few hands. But I saw it recently, and I was inspired by that movie. So for my presentation today, I'm comparing Clark Kent to Clark Pampanga. And I think they have some similarities. They're both attractive, but not so glamorous. But I think just like Clark Kent, who can quickly turn into Superman, I think Clark Pampanga has the ability to turn into a super city very soon. And when I start off my presentation, I'm going to start by sounding like Martin Luther King. And I have a dream. But my dream is to live in a city that looks a lot like this. It's very green, it's sustainable, and as you can see, it has fresh water, but you have all sorts of buildings, but it doesn't compromise nature. It still looks very green in spite of all the development. And here's another example of my idea of a dream city. You have a rail there because I love to commute if I can, but I can't do that in Metro Manila. And it's still very green, and you have a bike lane here on the side. But unfortunately, the reality for me is like this. And I saw a lot of hands here raised from Metro Manila, and this is the reality for most of us. We live in a very congested city, and the closest body of water we have is a very polluted Pasig River or maybe Manila Bay for some of us. And of course, traffic is my favorite. Just yesterday, I was in a meeting, and one of the people in my meeting said that it took him an hour and a half for a 1 kilometer distance in Makati. That's during rush hour. But even coming here today, it was faster for me to get here than most days coming from DPWH office to Bonifacio Global City. And with traffic this bad, you can imagine the air quality. It's really bad. And of course, the closest rail we have right now, here we have the actual remains of the PNR tracks still being used, but instead of greenery, you see a lot of informal settlers and a lot of trash. So this is the reality we face right now. But it's not hopeless. We have the potential to live in a super city, the new Clark City, which is going to be the first and largest smart, green, and intelligent city in the Philippines. And the size is almost 10,000 kilometers for residents of about 1.2 million and a workforce of about 800,000 approximately. And if you have that much people for New Clark City, for instance, that means a lot of land space per capita. But even here in Global Gateway Development City, I can see that it's starting to look like my dream city. As soon as I arrived, I can see a lot of trees out there. It has a beautiful view of the mountain. And this would be a perfect place where you have a modern building like this, and you can work, but after work, you can bike outside, you can walk to the different areas. And what makes Clark special is not just this green city that they're building. It has access to a lot of major facilities that are even better than Metro Manila. So one of the projects of the government here is, for instance, the expansion of the Clark International Airport. So this is what it looks like right now, but it has even better runways than Metro Manila, because this used to be an air base of the United States. And of course, with the US, you can expect better runways if they're using it for defense purposes. But the BCDA is expanding into the international airport to accommodate 8 million passengers per year. And this is going to cost about 12 billion pesos. But this is a rendering of what it will look like. And apart from the airport, they're designing Clark to have the new Clark City National Government Administrative Center. And this is supposed to house all the government offices of the national government. In fact, recently the Department of Transportation has announced that they're transferring here to Clark the DPWH is planning to also eventually transfer to Clark. We're studying this proposal. But basically, all national government offices will have satellite offices here. And this is the only place in the Philippines that will have an integrated disaster risk center that will house all of the government offices. So that's redundancy, so that in any case of a disaster, it can function fully as a national government. And apart from that, this is the only city in the Philippines that has a railway for logistics. So there's going to be a Subic Port to Clark Freeport Zone Railway. And this is going to make Clark an integrated logistics hub. Its advantage over Subic is that it also has an airport. And this railway will go all the way to the airport as well. And the Manila-Clark Railway is something that will allow access for passengers. It will go through from Manila into Tuban area to Malolos, Bulacan to Clark, Pampanga. And this is going to reduce travel time from Manila to Clark to less than an hour. But how do we get there? I know these plans sound wonderful, and most of the projects I've mentioned so far are BCDA projects. But physically, not just talking about infrastructure development, how do we really get to Clark right now? So at the moment, our access to Clark is to the North Luzon Expressway. This is an 84-kilometer, 4 to 8 lane major and modern toll expressway. At the moment, it's one of the best and highest quality highways in the Philippines. And it's full of CCTV cameras. It's very modern. And this is currently the gateway to central and northern Luzon. But even then, I would say this is much better than EDSA or any highway you would find in Metro Manila. But apart from that, the good news is we're going to expand access from north to south. So by the time the Department of Public Works is done with all of the projects that we have ongoing and in the pipeline, this is what the Luzon Spine Network will look like. It's going to connect all the way from the north via the TPLEX all the way south to Camarines Sur Expressway. So this will make all the highways equivalent to 1,040 kilometers. That's more than 3 times of the current number of kilometers in highways that we have. Particularly for Clark, something that is of interest to Clark is the NLEX-SLEX Connector Road. And this is an ongoing project of the Department of Public Works. And this is an 8-lane, 4-kilometer road that will connect South Luzon Expressway to North Luzon Expressway. And it can reduce travel time to about 2.5 hours. Actually, it's more if you think about it with current traffic, to about 40 minutes. And you can get from Clark to Laguna in just 1 hour. And this will connect Manila, the South Luzon Expressway, via Manila to Caloocan. So you're gonna skip EDSA. You go way from South Luzon Expressway straight to NLEX. Another project is the NLEX Harbor Link Segment 10. And sorry, before I forget, our target deadline for this is in 2021. And our contractor or concessionaire said they can finish maybe by 2020 if we get the right-of-way acquisition quickly. And this is another project that's very exciting because this is not a rendering. This is what the highway looks like right now. Just 3 weeks ago, I personally went there with the executive secretary and some cabinet members, and this is the photo we took. So this is a recent photo, and it's supposed to reduce travel time from Valenzuela City to Caloocan from now, which is about 1.5 hours, to just 5 minutes. We tried it up to the area that it was finished, and it's really very quick because it connects from Valenzuela to Caloocan via C3 Road. And you can imagine that from Manila, if you use this road, you can get to Balintawak very quickly as well without having to go through EDSA. And the target completion date for this is in June 2018. That's already next year. And another area of interest for Pampanga is the TPLEX, or the Tarlac City-La Union Expressway. And right now, we've finished segment 1 and segment 2. And the good news is for segment 3, which is going to connect Urdaneta City to Pozo Rubio, it's going to be inaugurated tomorrow, which happens to be my birthday, so it's a really nice birthday gift. See? But this also reduces travel time from Urdaneta to almost 3 hours to about 40 minutes. It's amazing what good road networks can do. And another road network that we're building in Bulacan area is the Plaridel Bypass Road. This is about 25 kilometers, 2 lanes that we're expanding to 4 lanes, and there's a remaining 10 kilometers that we're building, but it passes through several areas in Bulacan, but it will reduce travel time in Bulacan area connecting to NLEX or going to Manila from 1.5 hours to 2 hours to about 40 minutes. And this is also a photo of the actual project. So you can see that it's ongoing, and right now we're right on target. It's due to finish by 2019. But of course, when you talk about super cities, just like a superhero, they have to be strong. They have to be very resilient. So when it comes to disaster resiliency, let's talk about how Clark is disaster resilient. Luckily for Clark, it's not earthquake prone, but it is one of the areas in the Philippines with a major river basin. So all over the Philippines, there are 18 major river basins, which make certain areas of the Philippines flood prone geographically. So Pampanga is one of them. But out of these 18 major river basins, there are 11 areas that have flood control master plans that are already completed and are being implemented. The 7 are still updating their master plans. But you can see here that Pampanga is one of the areas that already has a flood control master plan covering a drainage area of almost 10,000 square kilometers and a river area of about 260 kilometers. And in relation to Pampanga particularly, the DPWH has an integrated disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation project in the low-lying areas of Pampanga. And you can see here, there are 4 rivers that usually cause flooding in Pampanga area. And all of these have an integrated master plan for reducing flooding. And this is a photo of what part of the project will look like. And it integrates a lot of flood control measures, such as drainage facilities, watershed management, and also early warning systems. So this is going to make Pampanga less prone to flooding. And I would like to end, I think appropriately, with a quote from an actor who played Superman, and that's Christopher Reeve. And I think this is very applicable to what's happening in Clark. Richard was saying earlier that when they started saying their dream here in Clark, it was hard to envision because it was all empty, and at that time there were still informal settlers. But we can see quickly how that dream is becoming possible. So, quoting Christopher Reeve, he said, "So many of our dreams at first seem impossible. Then they seem improbable. And then, when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable." And I think we're at that stage now that Clark being a super city is inevitable. So thank you, and I'll be open for questions later.